Hello and welcome to today's video, which is an introduction to conditionals. So the word conditional, it's an adjective. It comes from the word condition, which is a noun. And a condition is something that must happen first before the next thing can happen. For example, my uncle promised me he would buy me a computer if I graduated. I must graduate, the first thing, before I get my computer, the second thing. A conditional sentence has two parts. Firstly, the condition, and secondly, the result if the condition occurs. We normally say the condition is met. There's also a third part which is missing, which is what will happen if the condition isn't met. So, if I say my uncle promised me he would buy me a computer if I graduated, which part is the condition? So, the part in red, if I graduated, is the condition. That's what's got to happen first before I get my computer. If I don't do my homework, I will be punished. Which part is the condition? And the answer, if I don't do my homework. That's what's got to happen before I get punished. If you win the competition, you will get a prize. So which part is the result this time? And the result is you will get a prize. In other words, that's the second thing that will happen. The condition and the result can go in either order. So you can say, if you win the competition, which is the condition, you get the prize, which is the result. Or you can say you get a prize, the result first, if you win the competition, second. So if the condition comes first, you need a comma after the condition. If you win the competition, comma, you get a prize. So there's two possible results. I graduate and I get my computer, or I don't graduate and I don't get my computer. I have a choice. I can work hard and get the computer, or I can be lazy and not get it. There can be more than one condition. If you get up and brush your teeth, you can go to the waterfall. Two conditions, getting up and brushing your teeth. Or there can be more than one result from one condition. If you get up, one condition, you can go to the waterfall, first result, and then go to the movies, second result. Conditionals can be present or future or past tense. So here's an example of the future. He will go to university if he passes his exam. An example of the present. If it's very hot, I swim in the river. An example of the past. He would not have broken up with you if you were nicer to him. The words used in most conditional sentences are if or when. So an example of if you go to school, you will learn a lot. Example of when you go to school, you will learn a lot. So other words that can be used to make conditions as well as when and if. First one, unless. So for example, unless you're ready in 5 minutes, I'm going without you. Unless you're ready in 5 minutes, that's the condition. And the result, if the condition is met, is I'm going without you. Even if. So, for example, even if you promise never to see her again, our relationship is over. Another one, whether or not. Whether or not you cut your hair short, I don't want you to dye it blue. Another one, provided that. So, for example, you can watch this movie provided that you are at least 16 years old. You can watch this movie, that's the result first, provided that you are 16 years old is the condition. And as long as, and this is every parent's favorite saying, example, as long as you're living in my house, you'll do things my way. So the condition is you're living in their house, and the result is you have to do things their way. Next one, in case of. So, for example, in case of fire, leave the building immediately. The condition is in case of fire, the result is leave the building immediately. And next one, suppose. The example for that one, suppose you were rich, where would you live? So in this case, suppose is used exactly the way that you would use if. But this is a little bit different because suppose you were rich, that's the condition. What's happening here is you're not saying what the result would be, you're asking what the result would be. So if you look at the previous one with in case of, we said in case of fire, condition, and then we said this is the result, leave the building immediately. With suppose, you're asking the question, where would you live? What would be the result? Next one, only if. Example, you can go out tonight only if you promise to be home by 11 o'clock. Now, one thing to note here, you can split only from if. So you can say, you can only go out tonight if you promise to be home by 11 o'clock. And the last one, which is fairly obvious because it's got the word condition in it, on condition that. So you can go to the waterfall, result, on condition that you wash your clothes first. The condition. Okay. There can even be a conditional with no special word to help you know that it's a conditional. So an example of this is no money, no honey. There is a condition, money, that is needed before the second thing, honey. So were versus was. So if I were you, I wouldn't go in there. It smells very bad. Or if I was you, I wouldn't go in there. It smells very bad. Which is correct? The textbook will say that were is correct, but very many people would say was. What is happening is the language is changing. Languages don't stay the same. Over time, they change. If you watch a 1980s movie, you will notice that they speak differently. They use different words sometimes. The traditional way was to say, if I were you, but it's changing to, if I was you. So older people are much more likely to use were, and younger people mostly use was. In an exam, you should use were. But even in a formal situation like a job interview, it's fine to use was. So conditional is often used with the imperative tense. So for example, don't take drugs if you're depressed. Don't take drugs. That's the result. If you're depressed, that's the condition. Never skip school if you want to get a good grade. Never skip school is the result. If you want to get a good grade, is the condition. Okay, your turn. To go to university, you have to pass the entrance exam. Conditional or not conditional? And as usual, I'm going to go on fairly quickly now and give you the answer. So pause if you need to. And the answer is conditional, because if you don't pass, you can't go. You can study education or politics. Conditional or not conditional? And the answer, not conditional. It's just a choice. If you don't study, you'll be in trouble at school. Which part is the condition? And the answer, if you don't study. That's the thing you have to do to avoid being in trouble at school. Which one is correct? Don't call me when or unless or provided that it's an emergency. And the answer for that one is unless. Which one is correct out of these? The river was too hard to jump over. I couldn't have jumped it as long as, or even if, or unless I tried. And the answer for that one is even if. He can speak English when he wants to, but he doesn't speak it very often. Condition or not conditional? And the answer is conditional. The condition is that he wants to. Your hair is in bad condition. You need a special shampoo. Conditional or not conditional? And the answer is not conditional. The word condition has other uses, so don't be fooled. Call me if you miss me. Conditional or not conditional? And the answer for that one is, of course, conditional. If you don't miss me, you don't need to call. Don't drive if you've been drinking alcohol. What do you think? The answer is conditional. If you've been driving alcohol is the condition. Don't skip church on Sunday. And the answer is not conditional. There's no first step and second step. It's just a straight order. And that is the end, my friend. See you next time.